Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome back to another bonus content video for the PlayStation 2 Legacy. In this bonus content, I am going to be rating the 26 through 50 PlayStation 2 games that I have played so far. I'm going to be rating them like I've done with my last video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'm going to be rating them from a 1-star to a 5-star. 1-star being forget it, move on, don't bother with it, to 5 ranking to where I would recommend it to anyone who is not only a PlayStation 2 enthusiast, but one that might be interested in one to look into it and stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look into the list, shall we? So the first game on the list is Beautiful Joe. Now, this is basically a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, the way that I look at it, technically. The art style, I actually liked it pretty well, and the combat was actually pretty fun, to a certain degree in my personal perspective, but at the time that I was playing it, I felt like I was having a little bit of trouble trying to beat through it and stuff, if I remember correctly, but, you know, looking through it through the first level, it was pretty interesting up until I got to the helicopter boss, and at that point it got really hard. But, would I say that this is definitely something that would be recommended? Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of side-scrolling beat-em-ups, this is definitely a good one to look into, and something that would be enjoyable in my personal opinion. So I would probably say this is probably a 3 out of 5 for me, technically. Grim Roar. This one was very interesting. Knowing the people that made this game, the same one that made, like, Odin Sphere, followed by Dragon's Crown, I was familiar with the art style. What I was not familiar with was the gameplay for Grim Roar. And this one basically plays kind of like a tower defense game. And I was actually kind of surprised with it. And needless to say, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I really did. Number one, you have the fact that you can actually create different troops and stuff depending on which grimoire you're using. You know, being that of either just a normal grimoire, sorcery, necromancy, so on and so forth. So needless to say, I found it quite enjoyable, actually, in all honesty. And there's actually a mode in the game where you basically go into it and you span your map into the 4 different corners that there are. And each one is a different elemental preference and stuff. And so needless to say, I enjoyed playing that for a little bit, but I enjoyed the story campaign to a certain degree as well. And I feel like this one, I would definitely give a higher recommendation. So definitely a 4 out of 5 for this one. If you're a big fan of like castle defense or tower defense type games, and you like the art style that's like Dragon's Crown and stuff like that, this is definitely one that definitely needs to be checked out, because it's definitely magical to look into. Katamari Damacy. So, Katamari Damacy, you know, obviously, it's a very, very weird game. You basically have this ball that you're using, and you're rolling objects into it and creating a bigger ball and stuff like that. And, of course, as you go further into the game, you create more and more bigger balls in order to create more and more stars and stuff like that. But, I like it pretty well, you know. It's not a fantastic game, and it's definitely not something of my personal preference, per se, but based on what it is, it's an alright game, and definitely something that I would recommend for most people, especially those who have probably played other titles as well. And so for looking towards like the PlayStation 2 system, yeah, it's good. So probably, I don't know. I mean, I would definitely give it a 4 out of 5 easily, but I feel like there may be some that isn't too keen with this type of, I suppose you could say it's sort of like a puzzle element in a way, where you're trying to build the ball bigger and you're trying to use the obstacles to your advantage and stuff, and you're trying to plan out and everything like that. So I guess depending on the person, it may not be a 4 out of 5, but I think, yeah, Katamari Damacy, I would probably say a 4 out of 5. Star Wars Racers Revenge. So this one is basically Star Wars pod racing. I prefer to call it that because it's easy to remember and stuff like that, but it's technically Star Wars Racer Revenge, and technically this is also available for the PlayStation 4 for those that are curious. But for a PlayStation 2 game, what did I think about it? Again, I'm not a big racing person, but in terms of like what I thought about this game, this was actually pretty fun. This was definitely a pretty enjoyable one. I mean, you know, Star Wars Episode 1, one of my personal favorite moments is not only the pod racing, but of course the fight between the Jedi versus Darth Maul. But aside from that, though, The pod racing game was actually really fun and enjoyable in my personal opinion. You know, every single time you want to race, and you know, you got points, you could level up your character that you were using and stuff. You went through career and everything like that. So I think it can be enjoyable. Would I recommend this to any racing enthusiasts? I probably would. Then again, I haven't played a lot of racing games, but in terms of a Star Wars game, it's really good, especially if you like pod racing. I think I'd probably give this somewhere between a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5. I say 3 out of 5 because I think there might be some limitation that this game could have done better with. But then again, considering the time frame that it got released and everything like that, it would probably be a 4 out of 5. I'm a little bit mixed on this one. I don't know whether or not I should give it a 4. I feel like if I put it a 3 out of 5, that's too low. If I give it a 4 out of 5, it's too high. So somewhere between those two, I don't want to do half stars. That's kind of weird. So unless I feel indifferent about it, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a 4 out of 5. You know, again, I like Star Wars, like the pod racing, so yeah, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Yakuza. Now, this one, I'm just going to tell you right off the back, it's a easy 5 out of 5 for me personally because, you know, I understand now why, you know, we have the remaster / remakes that we've gotten for the PS4. And I was playing through the first one, mind you. And keep in mind, PS2, gameplay's really good. Definitely solid. I definitely got into the story relatively quickly, actually, in all honesty. And if I was to keep going through the PlayStation 2, I definitely would enjoy it a little bit more. But I'm actually curious as to, like, you know, all the different side stuff. Because keep in mind, it's not just the main story you have, you know, where you're fighting people and stuff like that. You also have abundance of different side quests, abundance of, like, mini games and stuff like that. So definitely looking forward to actually diving into the series of Yakuza. Because after trying out Yakuza for PS2, I definitely want to dive into the series, so I would definitely give it a 5 out of 5. And if you're a Yakuza fan and you're one to collect for the PlayStation 2, there's no harm in going backwards into something just to see what it was like, because as they say, if you can't appreciate how it looked it before, you can't appreciate what it is now. Looney Tunes Acme Arsenal. Oh boy, this is... I mean, I see kind of what they were going with, but the insanity that it had unfortunately made the game very unstable. And, you know, that's not exactly a good thing to have. You know, Looney Tunes has not had a good track record of, like, good video games. I could think of, like, 2 right off the back that were, like, I guess you could call them timeless in a way. They're definitely good games, like Bugs Bunny, Crack in Time, and then, of course, the Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck game being that of Looney Tunes Back in Action. That was actually pretty good in my personal opinion, but Acme Arsenal, I actually had pretty high hopes, judging by how the gameplay looked and everything. Sadly, though, it was kind of left me in a little mixed opinions about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just give it a 2 out of 5. I mean, if you are a fan of Looney Tunes games, and if you saw my gameplay of it, and you kind of thought to yourself, yeah, I would enjoy it, then yeah, definitely be worth it. But as far as, like, you know, really enjoying the game and just getting a good chunk into it, I wouldn't recommend it for everyone. So definitely would be a 2 out of 5 for me. I think that's like the lowest we've had so far. I'll have to look back again on that previous video, but I believe 2 out of 5 has been the lowest we've had so far. Ready to Rumble Boxing 2. This one was pretty interesting, you know. I haven't really played a whole bunch of different boxing games, but this one was pretty fun. But then again, it has some unique and fun different characters, one of them being that of Michael Jackson. So it was definitely a unique twist to it all, but I think this is an okay game. This is an alright one. If you can go through career mode and enjoy the career mode and everything like that, then I think it would definitely be worth it. So I'd probably give this one like a 3 out of 5. It's not bad. I do feel like maybe there could have been more stuff that they could do. Like, you know, say for example, if you wanted to customize, create your own character, maybe that might be better. But for what it is, it's alright. It's not bad. So a 3 out of 5 is okay with this one. 7 Samurai 20XX. Okay, so much like with most games, I had a unique thirst for this one. This was definitely a unique game for me, in my personal opinion. I felt like it was very unique, but But that's the bad thing to say. That's only unique. The gameplay is where it kind of falls short. It was kind of... I mean, it would be different if you could play as the other 6 samurais. That would be pretty awesome, in my personal opinion. But unfortunately, you can't. You only play as the one character. And again, the atmosphere looks awesome. The characters look fun. The story looks like it would be good. But in terms of gameplay, it's I have a hard time trying to figure out how to explain this one, but it's sort of a run and slash game, if you will. You know, you go through the story, you go through and you fight all the enemies, you slash them, you hack them and slash them and stuff like that. I feel like if the gameplay was refined a little bit better, you know, like actually like maybe a combo listings or stuff, maybe it might be better. I don't know, but in my personal opinion, it could have been better. It definitely could have been better, but it's definitely one of the more unique games to look for, you know. I don't think this game is that expensive, so definitely check it out. I would probably give this, again, a 3 out of 5. The combat is definitely not that good. It could be better, I feel like, but everything else around it, I felt like was really good, so definitely a good one to check into, but sadly, due to the combat, it would probably be a 3 out of 5 for me. Western Samurai. Basically a samurai western game, but with Devil May Cry stylized to it, you know. You're basically playing through each chapter, and you're basically fighting enemies and stuff, fighting bosses and everything like that. Despite how it looks graphically, which, you know, it's not pretty to look at, I had fun with this. I had fun with it, especially with the fact that every item you attain, you know, it popped up on the main samurai character. You know, you had the fact that he can wear a cowboy hat or an afro. Oh my gosh, I swear, you had to look at the game in order to realize how crazy it might get, because I actually had a little bit of fun with that part in Genuine, but personally, I think it's a pretty good one, so probably, that's a good question. Would I put this as a 3 or a 4 out of 5? Heck with it. Samurai Western, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 easily. Savage Skies. Savage Skies. Savage Skies. I mean, it's okay. If you can figure out the controls, it's alright. It's not bad. I feel like if I put it as a 1, that would be hurting it. It would be demeaning of it. Probably. Then again, putting it as a 2, I'm gonna hate myself later on, but I'm gonna put this as a 1 out of 5. It could be better. It could have been better built. Could have been better in terms of like designs and stuff like that. I feel like it should have been better, but it wasn't. So, yeah, 1 out of 5. The lowest score I've ever gave a game. Gungrave. So, technically I did Gungrave Overdose recently, and I did Gungrave first. And I liked it, Gungrave. I liked it pretty well. Unfortunately, it didn't really have a very good tutorial, so I was kind of left hanging, just kind of blasting through everything and stuff like that. Now that I understand the gameplay a little better, thanks to Overdose, I feel like maybe if I went back to Gungrave, I might have a better time playing through it and stuff. It's definitely just a normal gun blazing game and stuff like that. It doesn't require much effort in terms of like playing and stuff. If you enjoy just blasting through everything, shooting at them, looking like a badass and stuff like that, you'll have fun with this one. You will. I'd probably give this one a 3 out of 5. Red Ninja End of Honor. Easily 3 out of 5. The combat hurts. The stealth hurts. It could be better. Should be better. Is not better, sadly. Although the story's okay, graphics look spot on good, actually, in all honesty, considering the fact that it is a PlayStation 2 system. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm willing to be forgiven for it, but the gameplay definitely needs some fine-tuning. The gameplay just, oh, wow. I mean, record, it's not Assassin's Creed, but I feel like, you know, if you're going to do a stealth game, you need to figure out how you're going to have the character to do stealth and stuff. And so I had trouble with that game, unfortunately. And yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Alien Humanoid, basically a run-and-gun game. If you're familiar with that formula, you'll know that you're going through a side-scrolling game, shooting at everything. It's alright. It's not bad, but it definitely feels like it was just a Flash game that was just ported onto the PS2. Definitely with something from Newgrounds and stuff like that. So, I mean, that might... I sound like I'm going to make it hurt, but, you know, if you played this before... You can easily find better ones. So I'd probably give this one a 2 out of 5 personally. McFarlane Evil Providence. It's kind of Diablo-esque in a way. It's definitely dark in terms of picture look. It's just very, very dark and hard to see at times. I feel like it could have been better, but it chose not to. So this one, it's kind of a little bit up in the air, because, again, I don't want to make it sound like as if it's bad. It does have some good stuff, but it doesn't have enough to tell me that it's worth a recommendation, like a high recommendation per se. So, probably a 2 out of 5 on this one. That's not good. Why am I putting it that low? But then again, gameplay-wise, it's alright. Picture-wise, definitely could have been better. I feel like, you know, texture looks and everything like that definitely needed to be improved. So, yeah, 2 out of 5. Jak and Daxter Lost Frontier. This is technically a PSP port for the PS2. So, if you haven't played that game, this is technically a PSP port. You definitely can feel that it's definitely just a port and not like a remaster or anything like that. So, control-wise, I feel somewhat limited. But if you're a fan of Jak and Daxter series, then chances are you know if you're going to like this or not. But in terms of how good it is, I like the airship fights better. Those are my personal favorites. Everything else is okay, but the air fights are the fun parts of the game. But it's relatively short, so depending on who you are, it might not be worth it, but if you're a big Jak and Daxter fan like I am, this is probably the best you're going to get, because we didn't get a fourth one, sadly. We got Jak X Racing and then Jak and Daxter Lost Frontier. That's about it, sadly, and I don't think we're going to get a continuation anytime soon, so I'd probably give this one a 3 out of 5. Goblin Commander, basically another tower defense game. You know, you're building your fortress, you're fighting through swarms of enemies and stuff, and then you're recruiting more soldiers, more goblins, and stuff like that. The story is very humorous. It definitely has a lot of humor into it. I know technically I didn't really read the text and voice acting and stuff, but I did actually have a little bit of fun with the dialogue that they had. Gameplay-wise, was pretty good. I did like it pretty well. This one would probably be a 3 out of 5 for me as well. Samurai Jack, Shadow of Aku. If you are a fan of Samurai Jack, you will love this game. If you are a fan of 3D hack and slash platforming games, you'll like this pretty well, you know. Again, this is probably looking towards like the fan base of Jak and Daxter, Samurai Jack. So I feel like, yeah, if you were a fan of Samurai Jack, you would enjoy this very well indeed. Would I put this as a 4 out of 5? Part of me wants to put it 4 out of 5 just because of nostalgia reasons. I love Samurai Jack and I love the game because I played it and beaten it years ago. So, you know what? I feel like I should just give it like a 3 out of 5 and just say, just go play this game if you can. You know, it's definitely worth it in my personal opinion. And depending on who you are, you may enjoy it better than what I'm giving it a rating of. Some of you may not like it as much, but again, it's a really good solid title. The Bouncer. So much like with 7 Samurai 20XX, this is basically a beat-em-up brawler. You're basically just going through the story, straight through the story, basically, and you're selecting between the 3 characters. From what I've read, though, you can unlock more characters, potentially. I don't know if that's true, but you can. honestly, I actually kind of enjoyed this one. I thought this was actually really good. Gameplay, yeah, it's a little bit mixed. You know, you do have a lot of moves that you can use and unlock and stuff, but it is definitely something that, you know, it's definitely not something for everyone. From what I've heard, the story can be beaten in like 3 hours or something. So you're definitely looking at a very short game, technically. I want to give this one a 4 out of 5. It definitely deserves to be a 4 out of 5, and definitely I would recommend people to look into this. So, yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Spawn Armageddon. So, this is kind of, I don't know how to quite explain it. I did kind of enjoy it. The platforming, though, however, platforming ain't that good. Platforming could have been better, but combat's alright. I don't really have nothing else to say except for the fact that combat's good, platforming is shit, so, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Just to say, you know, it can be good, and if you're a big Spawn fan, you might enjoy it a little bit better, but I give it just a 3 out of 5. Heavenly Guardian. This is basically a shoot-'em-up game. I kind of like it, sort of in a way. It's a little bit difficult for me to get through it, personally, because I never really played that many shoot-'em-ups. But it's a good one, and I do actually like the boss fights, so... But I feel like this is actually a short game, so depending on your skill level and stuff like that, you'll beat it in no time. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay to have a short game every now and then. I'd probably give this one a 3 out of 5, just because of how short it is. Gameplay-wise, good, and you know what? It's a good boss rush type game. It's pretty good. Scooby-Doo, Night of 100 Frights. This one I had a lot more fun than I thought I would. It definitely has like a SpongeBob game feel to it. You know, you're basically going around collecting Scooby snacks to where you can either open up doors, purchase items that you will need in order to progress through the game. It's kind of open world in a way, you know, where you're kind of going back and forth between areas and stuff. And I love the humor in it. You know, you got the fact that, you know, Don Knotts is in it. I was actually surprised to see him there. I was like, Don Knotts? Don Knotts? Just to see him there. I mean, his voice is there. So that was really cool to see that. It definitely have that feel of the show, you know, the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You series. So I definitely enjoyed that one, you know. I haven't been a big fan of Scooby-Doo for a while now, much less the new stuff. But in terms of, like, the old stuff, if you're a fan of the old Scooby-Doo series, then chances are you'll love this one. It's a very nice game to play through, you know, just to kind of reminisce and enjoy the game and stuff like that. So, again, I'll give this one a 3 out of 5. Samurai Legend Musashi? Yeah, Samurai Legend Musashi. This one, I was actually kind of impressed with it, because whenever I looked at the back of the game case, I thought it was a side-scroller. Kind of reminded me of that, like, Mega Man in a way and stuff like that. But in all honesty, playing through it and stuff like that, I actually kind of enjoyed it a little bit, you know. Combat's really good. Leveling up is fairly simplistic in a way. So, I feel like this one's a pretty good one to definitely check out. Again, this actually kind of feels kind of hard, because I don't know if I want to give it a 4 out of 5, because I feel like that's a little bit too high, and 3 out of 5 is a little bit too low. That's twice I've had that happen, where it's like, it's actually really good, but I don't think people would enjoy it that much. So, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5. I actually enjoyed it. I actually kind of like it. We need more story-driven hack-and-slash games, you know? We don't get a lot of them. We get more... I feel like we get a lot more first-person shooter games, a lot more platformers, even though it doesn't look like there is a lot of platformers. There is quite a bit. And I would love more of my story-driven hack-and-slash games. This was actually a really good one, so I definitely recommend it on a 4 out of 5. Urban Reign. This one's a beat-em-up. This one's a different beat-em-up, actually. Instead of a side-scrolling beat-em-up, this is basically a stage beat-em-up, where you go through the entire town, selecting which direction you want to go and stuff like that. You go there, you beat up a bunch of people, potentially even bosses and stuff, and just complete through the level and stuff like that. I kind of like it pretty well, you know? I remember this game coming out and stuff like that, and I thought it would have been better, but nowadays it's kind of forgotten. But honestly, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. So I'd probably say I give this one probably... I give this a pretty good recommendation. Probably give it a 4 out of 5. If you're a big fan of beat-em-ups, this one's a good one to definitely dive into as well. Gradia 2, a RPG game. So I kind of like the graphical side of things, the voice acting. You know, early PlayStation 2 days, voice acting could be better, but gameplay's alright. I think the gameplay, if I'm not mistaken, the gameplay was a little bit different too. You know, it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. So I probably, in terms of RPG mechanics and stuff, I probably give this a good recommendation. It's not a 4 out of 5, but a 3 out of 5. If you're a big fan of RPGs and you want to look into this game, definitely look into this one. I would recommend it personally myself. But I just give this a 3 out of 5. Again, there are better RPGs out there, but this one is pretty good. Gradia Story. This one's an old classic one that I still have yet to have beaten. I need to eventually dive. I want to actually dive back into it and actually beat through it, you know. Story and the characters are fun. It definitely has a humor level of that of an anime, which I absolutely love. It's wonderful. The main character, you know, cocky, arrogant, you know, just now becoming a knight and stuff like that. Combat-wise, it's pretty good. I kind of like the combat, you know, if you're familiar with, like, the Tales series and stuff. Basically, as soon as you encounter an enemy, you have a set bunch of enemies that you get to, run around the field and stuff and fight the enemies and stuff. I kind of like it pretty well, but the biggest thing that I liked it was the combat element, you know, where you got to choose the movesets and stuff, and depending on the movesets, depends on the level tier that you have of combos and everything. So I kind of like this pretty well. If I was to go back and play through it a little bit more, it'd probably be a little bit better than what I'm predicting it to be. So I definitely want to give this one a 4 out of 5 personally myself. It's that good of a one. Well, that's it for this bonus content video. Yes, we have reviewed 26 through 50 games. To believe we have already went through 50 games total so far. And we're going to get closer and closer to even more games that's going to be encountered. So, in the next bonus content, depending on between now and the next one, we will eventually do 51 through 75, which, of course, we're just now getting started into that realm of number of games that we're going to be encountering. So, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.